this first game, we're gonna talk about the game that was Friday night. This game was just I don't even know. What are the
Perfect,
words?
great,
Silly,
amazing.
amazing. I don't think anybody who's just a fan of football would call it an amazing game. I'm sure Clemson fans, actually no, Clemson fans would not call it an amazing game. Let's be real. Clemson beats number 20 Louisville, 20-19. A comedy of errors for both teams. That's my first note here on this list, Mac. Louisville 10 penalties. The penalties were insane. Arguably cost them the game at different times, and of course the missed field goals or the missed field goal and then the missed extra point were just brutal for Louisville. Clemson finished 1 for 13 on third down and won the football game, which is crazy. There's so much to get into here. Clemson does find a way to win. Maybe it's kind of a makeup win after the crazy call that led to the Duke loss or whatever you want to say. But the Tigers win. They're going to beat Furman. They're going to be bowl eligible, Mac. What a day. What a time to be alive.
Yeah, it is interesting, actually. You just brought that up. I totally just like threw that away from my memory. If Duke would have won out and it could have been prevented by a missed botched call, that would have been
Mac,
crazy.
Duke is haunting you. Like, you need to let it
Crazy.
go.
And
You
I
need to
love
let
Duke.
go
It's
into the
weird.
summer.
It's weird how this has been like reversed. Like, yeah. Anyway, wow. That just I had to get back out of the darkness for a second there. Sorry. Yeah, this game was bonkers. Like I was being kind of sarcastic about the perfect weekend and all that stuff. Kind of there's some truth to it because you did win, and that's all I, care about. But it was the ugliest game I've ever watched. It was the most like typical summation of Clemson's season right now, with some stuff after, which I'm not laughing about. I'm actually very sad about. Two starting offensive linemen out for the season. Brandon Jacobs, I don't even know what they said, ankle or something, maybe celebrating after the game,
I saw
out
that.
for the year. Walker Parks went down during the game, which just kills me. This dude has fought his tail off. So many injuries throughout his career, has tried everything to get back. That's brutal and super depressing. So the fact that you lose those two guys is tough, really, really tough. The list of injuries for Clemson this year have been crazy, especially at the offensive line position. But looking at this stat sheet to kind of get away from the somber stuff, looking at this stat sheet and the fact that Cade Klubnik threw for under 200 yards and Louisville rushed for 171 yards, I would be like, yikes, Louisville won this game by whatever, that they killed Clemson. And that's just not the case. It was such a wild game. Felt like nobody wanted to win. Like it was just like, here, you take the ball. No, you take the ball. No, we don't want it. You got it. With missed field goals, with bounce pass punts, snaps, to the punter, which was crazy. Just anything you can think about that went wrong. Trying to hand it off to a defensive tackle fullback, which it was not called that. So many things. And you're just kind of sitting here like, what is happening? Why is this happening? I know. That's where it was. That's where it was. And what happened next was Clemson won, and they won the game. And I love Coach's thoughts after the game. I thought that was really powerful and strong. The message that he put out, and it's pretty true. Not pretty true. It's very true about what he's saying about in this NIL era, in an era where people are getting paid. And when they're losing and things aren't going their way or expectations aren't being met, a lot of people want to look for the training room. A lot of people want to look for a way out. And somehow Clemson is fighting and finding a way. And I think that does show their culture. Actually talked to Kirk Herbstreit a good bit about that this weekend. We were, in Pittsburgh with game day, and he was pretty impressed by all of that as well. So Tigers are undefeated in November, KG. That's what they remember. Best 5-5 team in America. I think the biggest conversation we need to be having right now is, how do we get Clemson in the playoff? Like, that's a serious thought right now.
I don't think many people want to see that necessarily. But Mac, 8, as you told me recently, and it did worry me a little bit because I'm not sure how much will change if this does happen. But 8-win season loading for Clemson.
Load it up.
Go
Load it up.
75, win the bowl. I mean,
Sure.
it
Why
feels like
not?
changes will happen regardless. So
I know there is that little. I don't know what's the opposite of a silver lining.
I don't know.
There is that out there. That thought of like, oh, we did it. We're fine. No, you're not. Please
No,
change.
5 losses is never fine, I would say. Mac, I think overall you could say the defense looked better for Clemson. That was a little bit of a silver lining. Offense, not as much. When you hand the ball off to the wrong person, leads to a fumble. It just feels like kind of the errors pile up, even though I thought Antonio Williams, TJ Moore, Adam Randall was fantastic for Clemson. For Louisville, Mac, this Louisville offense just continues to sputter and
Yeah.
to make mistakes, even though they did run the ball well, as you mentioned. What did you make of the Miller Moss comments after? Because that seems to be, that we talk about that with Louisville, like because they use the portal so much, then they seem to falter in November. Is it a culture thing? Like, are you buying into that?
Oh yeah, for sure. And that's been one of my like biggest question marks about these teams. And we mentioned it, a little bit last week. I can't remember what day, maybe it was last Sunday.
Yeah.
Just talking about this, like you're bringing, it's a revolving door of people in and out. How do you have any consistency? How do you have anything to lean on? How do you have anything to stand on? And if he's saying it and I'm
But
thinking
he's
it, he's
part of the
there.
revolving door too. I
Right.
mean,
But
he is
he
out
sees
there.
it from the perspective of what I'm saying. Like, I don't know. How can you coach those guys hard? How can because they're not going to be
Sure.
there. Why you waste your time? Why are you wasting your time implementing a culture that you're going to have to re-implement again and again and again with a whole different group of people? I don't know. It's fascinating. It's very fascinating to hear that because that's what I've thought externally. When I hear that from someone internally who has been there for what 6 months, maybe, that's a fascinating thing to hear, and I do think there's truth to it. I think there was truth to it a year ago when they have those stupid penalties to lose to Stanford. I mean, it was
Yeah.
the exact same thing. Louisville gets to a point where they can control their own destiny, and then the wheels fall off because of
Correct.
themselves. Self-inflicted wheel falling off is not a good thing, and that's just what we've seen from them for a couple of years here, specifically last year and this year. So I think there's some concern there. Um, but how do you get out of it? Do you just not take the transfers and start with a bunch of freshmen? I mean, it's a weird
Well,
place. And when you've kind of already created that
right.
mindset and I mean, that takes time. So I don't know. It's a very interesting thing. And I guess maybe you slow down with who you add in the portal. Maybe that's a longer process of getting to know, which I don't know how you do that either because it feels like the portal is just speed dating and you got to go, 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 get the guys and get them signed.
Right. No, and I do think Jeff Rom's going to have to take a look at this, and I'm sure he will, of how can we build our roster, whether it's culture or whether it's depth or whatever, where we don't fall apart every November. Because these have been good teams. They
Right.
have good wins. They have, times where you're talking about Louisville legitimately winning the league or getting in the playoff, and then November happens. It's kind of similar to Miami, even though Miami maybe is surging back at the right time. It's just really puzzling. And that game too, I mean, Louisville deserved to win the game, I would say. That's probably fair to say, with all the missed kicks and whatnot. But the penalties were just inexcusable. I don't know. That's got to get fixed.
Right. Right. And I mean, was a key part of losing the game. It's
Yeah.
just it's what it is. It is unfortunate. Like you said about the running game, I mean, I thought it was really impressive, to see what Keyshawn Brown was able to do. I mean, he ran straight through dudes left
Yeah.
and right, bouncing guys off the
A
turf.
few
And
people specifically.
yeah, it was like, oh, look out. Like that's not good. One guy he didn't do that to, Sammy Brown. I do want to touch on him before we move on. That guy is so good. So freaky, so instinctive. Like he's fun to watch. And I feel like he's playing his best ball right now too. I don't know what changed. But and he's played well all year. Maybe that's not fair. But it just seems like I'm seeing 47
Sure.
every other play doing something crazy. Um, and it's fun to watch, to be honest.
Yeah. And, Clemson preserving the bowl streak is ridiculous as that would have said. And I know if they still have to beat Furman, I understand. I'm so sorry. But as ridiculous as that would have sounded before the year. That is the fourth longest streak in America. So I guess there's something there. Mac was a part of that.